Today we will be reviewing how to turn fractions into decimals. And I know you did this in 6th grade, but it is important because we are going to have to still compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. And to do that, we need to successfully be able to turn things into decimals. What you're going to need out of the crate for today is 2 sheets of paper. You're going to need the one that looks like this, that says the Cowboy Method. You will also need the one that looks like this, the fractions to decimals. So they should be together in the crate. You need to get both of those. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and glue the Cowboy Method right here in the middle of this page, and then we will continue working on. Go ahead and pause and glue that in before you continue watching. The Cowboy Method is just a cute little story I found that just helps us remember how to set up our fractions, of even how to do our division, because we have to divide to be able to turn fractions to decimals. Now last year I know some teachers used Top Dog Gets the House, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just kind of like this one because it tells a story, and my students, my 7th graders in the past, have always remembered and done very well on this. So let's start with the fraction. We're going to do it underneath here. 3/5. Now some of you might say, Miss Howard, I know that as a decimal, but bear with me, I would like you to do this anyway. So what we do is we read the story, and each part of the story goes with part of what we have to do. So let's read it. It says, the cowboy rides the horse. So that first part, we literally are going to turn our fraction into a horse. I draw some stick legs, stick little head, and then the tail. I am not an artist, but you can tell it's a little horse. So it says the cowboy rides the horse. Well, use your knowledge of riding horses. That means the cowboy is on the top, and this right here is kind of the body of the horse, the 5. We now need to make our division house. I'm going to do that right underneath it, because the whole purpose of this is that we're doing dividing. So it says the cowboy rides the horse. The cowboy goes inside the house. Well, since the 3 is our cowboy, he is going inside the house. So I just simply write him on the inside. He hangs up his hat. When he hangs up his hat, I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal. Takes off his boots, gets another decimal, and eats 3 donuts. We add 3 zeros. The horse stays outside the house. Well, let's look at our fraction. The horse is down here, the 5's the body, so he stays on the outside. So the whole purpose of this little cowboy method is that it just helps us set up our division. Because my 7th graders for years past, they tend to mix up who goes on which part of the division. So just to help us, so let's repeat. So the cowboy rides the horse, so we draw our horse. The cowboy goes inside the house, so my top number goes on the inside. He hangs up his hat, we put a decimal. Kicks off his boots, we put a decimal. And eats 3 donuts. For the purpose of 7th grade math, we do not need to go any farther than the thousandths place. So 3 decimals, we can always just cut it off there. So let's go ahead and do our math now. And let's think. How many times can 5 go into 3? Think of your size 5 foot. Will it fit in a size 3 shoe? And your answer should hopefully be no. It might fit, but it'd be crowded. So we're going to say no, and we're going to put a 0. So then we're going to continue on. I'm just going to slide over, and I kind of ignore the decimals right now. They're already in place. We can ignore them. And I think, can 5 go into 30? Well, yes, 5 can go into 30. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It goes in 6 times. So 6 times 5 is 30. I'm going to subtract. So this should not be new. You've done division since 4th grade. You actually did this last year. It's just a review. 0 minus 0 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. So when I have zeros left down here, I don't even need to bring anything down. I'm done. I have now turned my fraction into a decimal. So 3/5 as a decimal is equal to 6/10. So rewatch that if you need to. Remember, being a good learner, you rewatch it now that you have it down if you need to. If you remember this from 6th grade, then that is awesome. We're going to go ahead. Let's do another one. So I'm going to slide it up so I can see my story again. And I'm going to go ahead and write another practice problem. And for this one, I'm going to do 2 nights. And my job is I want to turn this into a decimal. And the method, remember I said, just helps us know how to set it up. If you remember Miss Jones's Top Dog Gets the House, great. If you're someone like me that struggles, I don't remember which one Miss Howard goes in the top or Miss Yost in the bottom, then let's go ahead and re-go through our story. So it says the cowboy rides the horse. So first thing I need to do is I need to turn my fractions into horse. And now I'm ready to do my house part. So I'm going to continue reading. It says the cowboy goes inside the house. So think about which number's the cowboy. He hangs up his hat. We're going to put a decimal. Takes off his boots. Another decimal. They should be lined up on top of each other. And eats 3 donuts. 1, 2, 3 zeros. The horse stays outside the house. So the horse, since he's on the body down here, the horse goes on the outside. So right there, all it didn't do our division for us, unfortunately, but it did help us set up our problem correctly. So now let's think through our division steps. The first one we ask is to divide. Can 9 go into 2? Can your size 9 foot fit in your size 2 shoe? And the answer is no. So we're going to put a 0. So now I'm going to slide over. Can 9 go into 20? Now some of us know our multiplication facts, and you're like, bam, bam, I know, Miss Howard, it goes in 2 times. Now what happens if we don't know our multiplication facts, or we don't know it off the top of our head? You can always list your multiples right out here to the side. That is a good strategy that learners use. So by multiples, I mean I count up by the 9. So 9, if I said 9 plus 9 would be 18. 18 plus 9 would be 27. Oop, I went over the 20. So I go back and I look. 1, 2 groups. So 9 times 2 gives me 18. Oh, so now we have to subtract. 0, we can't do 0 minus 8, so 10 minus 8 becomes a 2. 1 minus 1, 0. Oh, I have something left over this time, so I need to bring down my 0. Like I said, this should be review. Hopefully, if not, we'll be happy to help you. How many times does 9 go into 20 again? Well, last time I went in 2, let's look at our multiples. 9 can go 2 groups without going over 20. So 2 times again. 9 times 2 is 18. 20 minus 18. 10 minus 8 is 2. 1 minus 1, 0. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to use all my zeros this time. So I'm going to bring down my last 0. And let's see. 9 goes into 20 how many times again? Hopefully you're seeing a pattern. It's repeating. 9 times 2 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. Now we have no more zeros to bring down. So for the purposes of 7th grade, we can end right here. Now in future levels, you might need to go further, but we can end. And just as a reminder, if we want to show that it does keep repeating, what do you put on top of it? Hopefully you're thinking that you remember from 5th and 6th grade that we can put a line to show that it's repeated 2, 2, 2. Once again, if you're struggling, pause it, go back and rewatch it if need be. If not, I would like you to flip over to the back side. And we are on the back going to go ahead and glue in our example problems. So fractions to decimals. Now be careful before you glue. You're going to need some room to work. So I'm kind of putting my thing over to one side so I have all this room on the side and at the bottom to do any work that I might need. So pause the video and go ahead and glue this paper in. You should have this glued in now. You are not going to be required to do every one of these. We are going to go through right now and circle 5 of them that you will be required to do and get checked by your teacher before moving on. If we notice that you look like you're struggling, you may be asked to do more, but these are the first 5 I want you to start with. I would like you to do number 3, number 4, number 8, number 9, number 11, and actually we're going to do 6 of them. I should have told you 6. And number 18. So these 6 you need to have an answer for. Do not do your work in this little box. You can do it out here on the sides. If that's not enough room, then you can get a scratch sheet of paper and do your work on that. But you must have work to move on to this next section.